Everyone gave up on the millionaire's daughter, doctors, tutors, even her own family. But when a quiet cleaner knelt in front of her and whispered something no one expected, the girl suddenly reacted, and the entire room froze. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and comment where in the world you're watching from, because now I'm going to tell you everything. The air in the playroom was still and heavy like a held breath. Say apple, Sophie. Can you say it? Apple. Dr. Evans held a bright red apple in front of the little girl's face. Sophie sat on the floor, her small fingers buried in the fur of a worn teddy bear. She did not look at the apple. She did not look at the doctor. Her eyes were fixed on a sunbeam on the carpet. Liam Thorne stood in the doorway, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. "She likes green ones," he said, his voice tight. "That is good information, Mr. Thorne," Dr. Evans said, not turning around. He put the red apple down and picked up a green one. "Look, Sophie, a green apple. Green. Can you say green?" Nothing. The only sound was the quiet hum of the air conditioner. The room was full of toys, a wooden dollhouse, a tiny electric car, a pile of stuffed animals. None of them had been touched in weeks, maybe months. Liam could not remember. After a long minute, Dr. Evans sighed and stood up. He walked to Liam, his kind face full of a pity that made Liam's stomach twist. "I am sorry, Mr. Thorne. We have tried the picture cards. We have tried the objects she likes. Her hearing is perfect. Her brain activity is normal. There is no physical reason for her not to speak. It is the traumatic mutism, a wall. We must be patient." "You have been coming here for 3 months, Liam said, the word sharp. "Patience is not a plan. What is the next step? What specialist do we try?" "There is a doctor in Switzerland I have read about." Dr. Evans shook his head slowly. "With respect, you have hired the best from New York and Boston. You have brought in speech therapists and child psychologists. The problem is not that she cannot speak, it is that she will not. She has decided the world is not safe. No doctor can force a door open from the outside, she must open it." "Then what do I do?" Liam asked, and for a second his voice broke. It sounded like a plea. He hated it. "You be her father, not her project manager. Just be there." After the doctor left, the house felt even bigger and quieter. Liam walked back into the playroom. Sophie was in the same spot. He knelt in front of her, his knees cracking. "Sophie," he said softly. "Hey, Bug, it's me." Her big blue eyes flickered up to his face for a second, then away. It was more than she gave the doctor, but it still felt like a door being shut. "I bought the new puzzle, the one with the horses you liked." He reached for a box on a shelf, his movements careful. He opened it and spread the large pieces on the floor between them. He put one piece in place. "See? A brown horse." Sophie looked at the puzzle piece. Her hand let go of the teddy bear's ear for a moment, hovering. Then it went back, holding tight. She pulled the bear into her lap and looked out the window again. Liam's hope, a tiny, stubborn flame, sputtered and went out. He felt a familiar hollow ache in his chest. He had built an empire from nothing. He could fix broken code, salvage failing deals, solve impossible problems. But he could not reach his own little girl. He sat there on the floor for a long time, watching her. She was so small. She wore a yellow dress today. Evelyn had bought it. The thought of his wife was a physical pain, a sudden sharp stab behind his eyes. He missed her with a fierceness that scared him. She would have known what to do. She would have just sat with Sophie, humming, and somehow that would have been enough. But Evelyn was gone for 2 years, and in this huge white mansion in Los Angeles, all that was left was a silent man, a silent child, and a sea of silent, expensive toys. He finally stood up, his body feeling stiff and old. "Okay, Bug," he whispered. "Okay." He left the playroom and walked down the long hallway to his office. He closed the door and sat at his giant, empty desk. He opened his laptop. The screen glowed in the dim room. He typed a new search. Top pediatric trauma specialists, Los Angeles. Clicking through the results, he made a list. There was always another expert. There was always another solution. There had to be, because the alternative, sitting on the floor forever, waiting for a door that might never open, was too much to bear. Outside, the California sun shone brightly on the perfect green lawn. Inside, the silent house held its breath. The list of specialists was printed and neatly highlighted on Liam's desk. but his hand hovered over the phone. Dr. Evans's words echoed. You be her father, not her project manager. He pushed the list away. It felt like giving up. Instead, he picked up a different business card for the premium cleaning service he used. The head housekeeper had given notice last week. The thought of interviewing strangers, of explaining the quiet, felt exhausting. He dialed the number. A woman answered. Yes, hello. This is Liam Thorne. I need a new house cleaner, for the main house, as soon as possible. The voice on the other end was efficient. Of course, Mr. Thorne. We have an excellent employee available, Maria Rodriguez. She is very thorough, very quiet. She can start tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Quiet is good, Liam said, almost to himself. Fine, send her. The next morning, at exactly 8, the doorbell chimed. Liam opened the door to a young woman in a light blue uniform. She held a large cleaning caddy. She had dark hair and a simple ponytail and kind, watchful eyes. Mr. Thorne, I am Maria. Come in, he said, stepping back. His voice was all business. The main areas are the kitchen, the living room, the library, and the playroom. Upstairs is mostly closed off. Do not go into my office at the end of the hall. My daughter Sophie is in the playroom. She is quiet. Do not disturb her. The last cleaner tried to give her a cookie and it upset her. Just clean around her. Maria nodded slowly, her eyes taking in the grand, cold entryway. I understand. I will be careful. Liam watched her for a moment. She seemed calm, unfazed by the size of the house. Good, he said finally, and turned to walk back to his office. Maria began her work. She moved through the huge rooms without a sound. She dusted the tall windows that looked out onto the garden. She wiped the dust from the grand piano that no one played. The only sound was the soft spray of her bottle and the whisper of her cloth. She saved the playroom for last. She pushed the door open gently. The little girl was there, sitting in the middle of the floor, just as Liam had said. She held a teddy bear. The room was a storm of untouched toys. Maria did not say hello. She did not smile widely. She simply got to work. She picked up blocks and put them in their bin. She straightened books on a low shelf. Out of the corner of her eye, she watched. A woman arrived an hour later. She carried a bag of toys and a bright, forced smile. She was a new speech therapist. Maria kept cleaning the far window. Hello, Sophie. Look what I have today, a puppet. The woman's voice was loud and cheerful in the silent room. She put a fuzzy dog puppet on her hand. Hello, woof, woof. Can you say dog? Sophie did not move. Her grip on the bear tightened. Dog, it's a dog. Say it with me, doga. Nothing. Maria rinsed her cloth in a small bucket. The water made a soft splash. The therapist tried for 20 minutes. She showed pictures. She made animal sounds. Her cheerful voice grew tight, then frustrated. She finally packed her bag, her shoulders slumped. She left without a word to Maria. The room was quiet again. Maria finished the windows. She was done. She should leave. She gathered her caddy and her bucket. As she turned to go, she saw Sophie had moved. She was now sitting by the big window, the sunbeam warming her back. Her pink dress was bright in the light. Maria stopped. She put her bucket down. She knelt on the floor, not too close, leaving a big space between them. She did not reach out. She did not ask a question. She just looked at the little girl, alone in the patch of sun. Her voice was so soft it was almost part of the quiet. That is a very pretty pink, Maria said. It looks like a strawberry milkshake. For a long second, nothing happened. Then, Sophie's head turned, slowly. Her big blue eyes moved away from the window and looked right into Maria's. They were clear and deep and full of a quiet knowing. And then something happened on Sophie's face. Her lips, which were always in a straight line, softened. The very corners turned up. It was small. It was real. A tiny, silent smile. Maria's own breath caught in her chest. She did not move. She just smiled back, a small, gentle curve of her lips. Liam stood frozen in the hallway, just outside the door. He had come to check on the new cleaner, to give another instruction. He saw it all. He saw his daughter's face turned toward a stranger. He saw the smile. A smile he had not seen in 2 years. A shock went through his body, sharp and bright. It was not a solution from Switzerland. It was not a plan. It was just a woman in a blue uniform saying 7 simple words about a pink dress. Hope, a feeling he had almost forgotten, cracked open inside him, hard and sudden. He stepped back into the shadow of the hall, his heart pounding. He did not want to break the moment. He watched as Maria, still smiling, picked up her bucket and stood. She walked out of the playroom, not seeing Liam. She walked quietly toward the kitchen to put her supplies away. Liam looked back at his daughter. Sophie was still facing the spot where Maria had been. The smile was gone, but her face was softer, not blank. For the first time in a very long time, she looked like she was seeing something. Liam waited until he heard the soft click of the front door closing. Maria had left for the day. He stood in the silent hallway for a full minute. The image of Sophie's smile burned into his mind. It was not a plan from a doctor. It was not data. It was a feeling, a fragile, glowing thing in his chest. He had to act on it. He found the cleaning services card and called the manager. "The woman today, Maria. I want to request her for every cleaning day." "Of course, Mr. Thorne. She is scheduled for twice a week." "That is not enough," Liam said, the words coming out in a rush. "I want her here more. Can she come 5 days a week? In the mornings. I will pay double her rate, triple. She does not need to clean more. I want her to just be here, in the house. She can help with my daughter." There was a pause on the other end. "I would have to ask her, sir. It is an unusual request." "Ask her, please. Tell her it is very important." The next morning, Maria arrived at 8 o'clock again. Liam was waiting in the foyer. "Maria, good morning. Did your manager speak to you?" Maria nodded, her expression careful. "Yes, he said you asked for more days." "I did. I want to hire you for extra hours, not just for cleaning. I saw you with Sophie yesterday." Liam's voice was earnest, almost pleading. She smiled. "She has not smiled in 2 years. I will pay you extra money. I just want you to spend some time with her, in the playroom. You do not have to try to make her talk, just be there." Maria looked down at her yellow cleaning gloves. She was quiet for a long moment. "I am just a cleaner, Mr. Thorne." "You are the only person she has looked at in 2 years, Liam said, his voice thick. Maria looked up, meeting his eyes. She saw the raw hope there, so desperate it was painful. She gave a small nod. "Okay, I can try, but I do not know any special methods." "That might be the point," Liam whispered. Maria started her cleaning. When she was done with the kitchen, she did not avoid the playroom. She went in. Sophie was in her usual spot, but her head lifted when Maria entered. "Hello, Sophie," Maria said, her voice normal and soft. "I need to dust in here. Is that okay?" Sophie did not nod, but she watched as Maria moved around the room, wiping shelves. Maria did not ask her any questions. She just talked about what she was doing. "This dinosaur is very dusty. He must have had a long sleep." She put the plastic toy down. "The sun is very bright today. It makes the floor warm." She finished dusting and looked at her caddy. She had a small bottle of dish soap for cleaning counters. An idea formed, simple and clear. She went to the kitchen and came back with a small bowl. She squirted a little soap in it, added some water, and found a stray plastic straw from a cup in the sink. She knelt on the floor, not too close to Sophie. She dipped the straw in the soapy water and blew softly. A cluster of small, shimmering bubbles floated into the air. Sophie's eyes followed them. Maria blew more. The bubbles drifted, catching the light, and then popped silently. "They do not last very long," Maria said. "But they are pretty while they are here." She put the straw down in the bowl and slid it slowly across the floor towards Sophie. Then she went back to dusting the windowsill, humming a quiet song her mother used to sing. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then, Maria saw a small movement. Sophie had reached out. Her small fingers picked up the straw. She looked at it. She looked at the bowl. Very carefully, she dipped the straw into the soapy water. She put it to her lips and blew. One big, wobbly bubble emerged and floated up. Maria did not cheer. She just smiled and kept humming. Later, when Maria went to clean the downstairs bathroom, she felt a presence behind her. She turned. Sophie was there, standing in the hallway, her teddy bear dangling from one hand. She was watching. "Hello," Maria said. "Do you want to help me carry this cloth?" She held out a clean blue cleaning cloth. Sophie did not take it, but she took a step closer. The next day, It happened again. Maria was polishing the wooden banister. Sophie appeared and stood a few feet away. This time she was holding one of Maria's big yellow cleaning gloves. She must have picked it up from the caddy. Maria knelt down. "Do you like that glove? It is big. It can keep your hand very clean." She held out her own bare hand, palm up, next to the glove. "See? My hand is small. The glove is big." Sophie stared at the two hands. Then slowly, she reached out and placed her own tiny hand on top of Maria's. Her touch was light and warm. It lasted only a second before she pulled away, clutching the yellow glove to her chest. From his office doorway, Liam watched this small exchange. His throat felt tight. He did not see a therapy session. He saw a connection. It was messy and quiet and perfect. He felt a joy so sharp it was almost like pain. He had hired the best minds in the world, and the key had been a bottle of dish soap and a woman who was not afraid of the quiet. The days settled into a new rhythm. Maria would arrive, clean for an hour, and then her real work began. She would sit on the playroom floor with Sophie. Sometimes they blew bubbles. Sometimes Maria drew simple pictures with crayons, a sun, a flower, a house. She would talk about the shapes. This is a circle. The sun is a circle. Sophie would watch, her eyes moving from Maria's face to the paper. She never drew herself, but once she touched the yellow crayon. One warm afternoon, Maria was putting away the cleaning supplies. Sophie stood nearby, holding the familiar yellow glove. Maria smiled at her. "All done inside. It is a good day to be outside." She opened the large glass door that led to the back garden. The air was sweet with the smell of cut grass and flowers. Sophie hesitated on the threshold, then stepped out, her small feet on the stone patio. Maria followed. "Your garden is very big. Look at all the colors." They walked slowly along the neat gravel path. Sophie looked at everything. She stopped to watch a bee land on a purple flower. She touched the soft leaf of a lamb's ear plant. Maria walked beside her, saying little. "The bee is busy. That leaf feels soft." Then Sophie stopped. They had reached a part of the garden with rose bushes. The roses were full and deep red. One bush, slightly apart from the others, was covered in pale pink blossoms. Sophie stared at it. She let go of Maria's glove and pointed one small finger directly at the pink rose bush. Maria felt a cold trickle down her spine. She knew this bush. She had seen it before 2 years ago in a blurred photograph on a news article about the accident. The article had quoted a grieving husband. "She loved those pink roses in our garden." "You like these roses?" Maria asked, her voice barely a whisper. Sophie walked to the bush and sat down on the ground right in front of it. She patted the grass beside her, a clear invitation. Maria's heart hammered against her ribs. She sat down, leaving space between them. The scent of the roses was heavy in the air. Sophie picked up a fallen pink petal and held it in her open palm. She looked at it for a long, long time. The world was very quiet, only the distant sound of a lawnmower. Then Sophie spoke. Her voice was rusty from disuse, a dry, small sound, not much louder than the breeze through the leaves. She did not look at Maria. She looked at the rose bush. "Mama." The word hung in the air. Maria stopped breathing. A wave of memory crashed over her. The smell of metal and gasoline, a woman's hand in hers, a fading whisper. "My baby, Sophie." Before Maria could move or speak, another voice shattered the moment. "Sophie?" Liam was running across the lawn, his face pale with shock. He dropped to his knees in front of his daughter, his hands hovering, afraid to touch her. "Sophie, did you say something?" Sophie looked up at her father. She blinked. She did not say the word again, but Liam had heard it. He was sure. He gathered her into a tight hug, tears streaming down his face. You spoke, baby." He laughed through the tears, rocking her. "Oh, thank you. Thank you." Over Sophie's shoulder, his tear-filled eyes found Maria. His expression was pure, overwhelmed gratitude. "You did this. How did you?" He looked from Maria's stunned face to the rose bush. His smile faltered, just a little. The logic in his mind, always working, clicked into place. He knew this spot. This was Evelyn's favorite place. She would sit here for hours. He had kept the gardeners tending it perfectly, a living shrine. But how would Maria know that? He stood up, still holding Sophie. His voice was thick with emotion, but a new thin thread of something else ran through it. "This was my wife's favorite place. How did you know to bring her here?" Maria stood up, brushing grass from her uniform. Her heart was pounding so hard she felt dizzy. "I did not bring her. She led me here," she pointed. "But why here?" Liam pressed, his grip tightening on Sophie. "Of all the places in the garden, why this exact bush?" Maria looked at the ground. She could not meet his eyes. "I do not know. It was a lucky guess. Maybe she likes the pink color." Liam stared at her. The joy was still there, swelling in his chest, but around its edges, a dark, cold suspicion began to take root. It did not make sense. A lucky guess? In a garden this size? Sophie, feeling the tension in her father's arms, began to fuss softly. Liam shushed her, his eyes still locked on Maria. "Yes," he said slowly, the word heavy with unasked questions. "A lucky guess." The lucky guess would not leave Liam's mind. It buzzed in his head at night. It sat with him at breakfast as he watched Maria pour Sophie's orange juice. Sophie was different now. She followed Maria more closely. She would sometimes make a small sound, not a word, but a hum, matching the tune Maria quietly sang while folding laundry. It was progress. It was everything he had wanted, and it filled him with a cold dread. He sat in his office staring at the blank check on his desk. He had been about to write Maria a very large bonus. A thank you. Now, the check seemed foolish. His mind, trained to find flaws in code and loopholes in contracts, picked at the situation. A simple cleaner from a service. She shows up. She says one kind thing. His daughter smiles. She spends a few weeks humming and blowing bubbles. Then, she just happens to be in the exact spot where his wife spent her happiest hours. And his daughter speaks her first word in 2 years. It was too perfect. Life was not perfect. Life was a car crash on a sunny afternoon. He opened his laptop. He typed a name into a search engine. Private investigator, Los Angeles, discreet. He clicked on the first result, a firm called Grant Security. He picked up the phone. A man answered. "Grant Security. My name is Liam Thorne. I need background information on an employee, very discreetly." "We can do that, Mr. Thorne. What is the name?" "Maria Rodriguez. She works for Premier Clean Service. I want to know everything, where she lived before, what she did before cleaning, any gaps in her history. I want to know if she has ever approached my family before." "Understood. We will need a retainer. Send me the invoice. I will pay it now, and I want this quickly." 3 days later, Liam's phone rang. It was the investigator, a man named Carl Grant. His voice was flat and professional. "Mr. Thorne, we have a preliminary report on Maria Rodriguez." Liam's hand tightened on the phone. "Go ahead." "She is 28 years old, born in Los Angeles. Parents still live in East LA. Clean record, no criminal history. She attended Los Angeles City College for 3 years. "For what?" Liam interrupted. "Nursing. She was in a nursing program." The room felt suddenly colder. "Nursing," Liam repeated. "Yes, she was a student. She also worked part-time for a private ambulance company, Metro Rapid Response." There was a rustle of paper. Her employment there ended abruptly about 2 years ago. The file says she resigned for personal reasons. 2 years ago. The number landed in Liam's stomach like a stone. "Which ambulance company?" Liam's voice was a whisper. "Metro Rapid Response. They have a contract for the west side of the city. She would have worked on calls in that area." The west side. That was his area. That was where the accident happened. Liam did not need to ask the next question. He already knew. The pieces locked together with a terrible logical click. The rosebush was not a lucky guess. It was a memory she should not have had. "Mr. Thorne, are you still there?" "Was she working on the night of November 12th? Liam asked, each word feeling like glass in his throat. 2 years ago, a vehicle collision on Pacific Coast Highway involving Evelyn Thorne. He could hear the investigator typing. The seconds stretched out. "The call log for that night is archived. I can request it. It will take another day. But given her employment period and location, it is a strong possibility." "Get the log," Liam said, his voice now hard and empty. "Confirm it." He ended the call. He sat perfectly still in his quiet office. The hope he had felt just days before curdled into something black and toxic. She was there. She saw Evelyn. She heard everything. And then she quit. She disappeared, only to reappear in his home, wearing a cleaner's uniform, getting close to his silent, vulnerable daughter. Why? His mind raced through ugly possibilities. Money, blackmail, some twisted form of guilt or obsession. He looked out the window. In the garden, he could see Maria and Sophie. They were sitting on a blanket. Maria was showing Sophie how to weave blades of grass together. Sophie was watching, her face calm. Liam felt a hot surge of anger so powerful it made his vision blur. He had trusted her. He had felt grateful to her. He had let her into their broken world, and the whole time she had been lying. She had carried the secret into his house, into his daughter's life. He stood up, his jaw clenched tight. The investigator would call back tomorrow with the final proof. Then he would have his confrontation. He would look the liar in the eye and demand to know what her game was. The investigator's email arrived the next morning. The subject line was just report. Liam opened it. He scanned the text, but his eyes locked on one line. Confirmation: Rodriguez M. was on duty with Metro Rapid Response, Unit 7, on November 12th, and responded to the collision on PCH involving Evelyn Thorne. He printed the page. The paper felt hot in his hands. He walked to his office door and called out, his voice echoing in the quiet hall. "Maria, can you come in here, please?" A minute later, Maria appeared at the door. She had been wiping the kitchen counters. Her hands were still damp. "Yes, Mr. Thorne?" "Close the door." She did, her movements slow. She saw his face. The kindness was gone. It was stone. Liam did not sit. He held up the printed page. "I know who you are." Maria's eyes went to the paper. Her face lost all its color. "You were there," Liam said, the words quiet and venomous. "You were at the accident. You were on the ambulance. You saw my wife die." He took a step toward her. "And you lied to me. You came into my house. You got close to my daughter. Why? What do you want? Money. Is that it?" Maria shook her head, her hands coming up as if to push the words away. No, it is not money." "Then what?" Liam's voice rose, sharp with anger and pain. "You quit your job after that night. You disappeared. Then you show up here, cleaning my floors? You do not think that is strange? You do not think I would find that suspicious? How did you even get this job? Did you plan this?" "No," Maria's voice broke. Tears filled her eyes. "I did not plan anything. I took the cleaning job. I needed work. The service sent me here. I did not know it was your house until I saw the name on the mailbox that first day." "But you stayed," Liam shouted. "You knew, and you said nothing." "I was scared," she cried. "I saw Sophie that first day sitting so still, and I remembered everything. I could not leave her." "Remembered what?" Liam demanded, throwing the paper onto his desk. "Tell me." Maria wrapped her arms around herself. She spoke to the floor, her voice trembling. "I was a student. It was one of my first calls. The crash was bad. Your wife was in the car. She was alive when we got there, but just barely." Liam flinched as if struck. He had never heard these details. He had refused to read the report. Maria continued, the words spilling out now. "I held her hand. In the ambulance, she could not see, but she could hear. She whispered. She said, 'My baby, Sophie.' She said it over and over until she stopped." A tear rolled down Maria's cheek. "I could not save her. I was just a student. I felt so useless. I quit school after that. I could not go back." She looked up at Liam, her eyes begging him to understand. "When the service sent me here, it felt like a sign. I just wanted to see the little girl. I wanted to know if she was okay. That is all. Then I saw her. She was so sad and silent. And you were so sad and angry. I just wanted to help. I did not know how to tell you. I thought you would hate me." "I do hate you," Liam roared. "You lied. You used her. You used my grief to play some nurse fantasy." "No!" Maria's voice found a sudden strength. She stood straighter, wiping her face. "I did not use anyone. I did not see a problem in Sophie. I saw a sad little girl who misses her mom." She looked right at him, her gaze clear through her tears. "Just like I see a sad man who misses his wife." The words landed in the room, sudden and absolute. Liam's next shout died in his throat. He stared at her, his chest heaving. Her words were not an attack. They were a simple, devastating truth. She had seen him. Not the rich tech founder, not the angry client. A sad man. The fury still burned in him, but under it, something cracked. The image of Maria in a paramedic's uniform, holding Evelyn's hand, flashed in his mind. He saw her in the blue cleaning dress, holding a bowl of soap bubbles. The two images would not fit together. He had no words. The office was silent except for Maria's quiet crying. The printed report lay between them on the desk, a flat, cold fact that explained nothing of the heart. The silence in the office was heavy and complete. Liam stood there, Maria's words echoing in the space where his anger had been. "Just like I see a sad man who misses his wife." He looked at her, really looked. She was not a schemer. She was a young woman with red-rimmed eyes, her uniform wrinkled, standing in the middle of his expensive office looking broken and honest. She had not asked for anything, not once. His mind, always racing to solve, to fix, to assign blame, suddenly went quiet. And in that quiet, a terrible clarity settled over him. He saw the parade of experts he had hired. He heard his own voice. "What is your method? What is your success rate? Send me the invoice." He had treated his daughter's heart like a software bug. He saw his mother, Barbara, on his front step 6 months ago, her face hopeful. She had brought a homemade pie. "I just want to see my grandbaby, Liam. I can help." His reply had been curt. "It's not a good time, Mom. She has a therapy schedule. It's very structured. I'll send a car for you next month." He never did. He sent a check instead. He could still see the hurt in her eyes, replaced by a careful blankness. "Thank you, son. You're too generous." He thought of the garden, Evelyn's garden. He had hired the best landscapers in Los Angeles. He gave them a photograph. "Make it look exactly like this. Every bush, every rose, perfect." And they had. It was a beautiful, silent, perfect statue. He never sat there. He never let Sophie play there. It was a museum exhibit. Maria's voice was soft, cutting through his thoughts. "I did not come for money, Mr. Thorne. I have enough. I came because I was haunted. By her last words. By the little girl I never saw. When I saw Sophie, I just thought, maybe I could be a friend. A quiet friend. Because the world around her was so loud with trying to fix her." Liam slowly sank into his desk chair. The fight was gone from his body. The doctors, they had charts. They had data. "She is not data," Maria said, her voice firm for the first time. "She is a little girl who is very, very sad. And she is smart. She sees everything. She sees you working all the time. She sees you looking at her like she is a puzzle. It scares her." "I don't mean to scare her," Liam whispered, the words feeling foreign. An admission. "I know," Maria said. "You are scared too." He put his head in his hands. He saw it now, the high wall he had built. Not just around Sophie, around himself. He had pushed his mother away. He had treated every helper as a paid employee. He had buried his grief under a mountain of work and control, thinking if he could just make everything perfect on the outside, the inside would stop hurting. He had been so blind. "All I wanted was to hear her voice," he said, the words muffled by his hands. "I thought if she would just talk, everything would be better." "Maybe," Maria said gently, "but maybe she needed to see that it was okay to be sad first, that someone would just sit with her in the quiet." Liam looked up. He saw the woman who had done just that, the woman who had held his wife's hand as she died, and now, 2 years later, held his daughter's heart with a shocking, simple care. She had not tried to fix a single thing. She had just shown up. His anger was gone. In its place was a vast, aching shame, and beneath that, the first glimmer of a new understanding. It was not about methods. It was not about money. It was about showing up. The silence in the office was fragile. Liam was still sitting with his head in his hands. Maria stood waiting, her tears drying on her cheeks. The truth was out, lying in the space between them, raw and uncomfortable. Neither of them heard the soft sound in the hallway. Neither of them saw the small shadow outside the slightly open door. Sophie had been playing in the hall. She heard her father's loud voice. She heard Maria's crying. The sounds were scary. They were the kind of sounds that happened before bad things. She crept closer to the door, her old teddy bear clutched under one arm. With her other hand, she held one of Maria's big yellow cleaning gloves. She had been carrying it around like a security blanket. She peeked through the crack. She saw her father sitting, looking down. She saw Maria standing, her face sad. Her father spoke, his voice now tired and rough. "I pushed everyone away." Maria nodded slowly. "You were trying to protect what was left." "I was building a fortress," Liam said, "and I locked her inside with me." Sophie listened. The angry shouting was over, but the room was still filled with a thick, sad feeling. She saw Maria wipe her eyes again. She saw her father's shoulders slump. A feeling, strong and clear, rose up in her small chest. The sad feeling had to stop. She pushed the door open. It made a small creaking sound. Both adults looked up. Liam's eyes went wide. "Sophie." Sophie walked into the room. She did not look at her father. She did not look at Maria. She walked right to the middle of the space between them. She stopped. She was holding the bear and the yellow glove. She looked at her father's face, which was tired and sad. She looked at Maria's face, which was wet with tears. Then Sophie spoke. One word, clear and firm. "Stop!" The word hung in the air. It was not a whisper, it was a command, a request, a plea. Liam froze. His breath caught. Maria put a hand over her mouth. Sophie then turned. She walked the 2 steps to where Maria stood. She looked up at her. She reached out her small hand, the one not holding the bear, and took Maria's hand. She held it tight. She did not say anything else. She just stood there, holding Maria's hand, a silent bridge between the 2 adults. In that moment, Liam saw everything. He saw his daughter, not as a broken thing to be fixed, but as a person. A brave little person who had just walked into a room full of pain and tried to make it better. She had chosen kindness. She had chosen the person who showed her bubbles and quiet songs. She was not hiding. She was right there. The last of his anger, the last of his suspicion, shattered. It fell away like dust. The walls of his fortress crumbled, not with a shout, but with a single word from his little girl. He looked from Sophie's determined face to Maria's stunned one. He saw the way Maria looked down at Sophie, her expression shifting from sadness to a soft, awed wonder. He saw the way Sophie held on to her, trusting her completely. His daughter had just spoken to protect someone, to protect the woman who had shown her kindness. The truth was no longer a threat laid out by an investigator. It was here, in this room, in the simple, brave action of his child. Maria was not a liar. She was the person his daughter had chosen to trust. And in doing so, Sophie had shown him what he had been unable to see for 2 long years. For a long moment, no one moved. Sophie stood firmly, holding Maria's hand, a tiny anchor in the room's emotional storm. Liam slowly stood up from his chair. He did not approach them. He kept a distance, giving them space. He looked at his daughter, really looked at her, and saw a strength he had never recognized. "You are right, Sophie," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "We should stop." He then turned his gaze to Maria. She looked back at him, her eyes wide, still holding Sophie's hand. "Maria," he began, the words coming slowly. "I am sorry. I am so sorry for shouting at you. I am sorry for the things I said. I was wrong." Maria nodded slightly but remained silent, letting him speak. "I was angry and scared," Liam continued, his hands opening at his sides, empty. "I have been angry and scared for 2 years. I took it out on you. That was not fair. You did not lie to hurt us. You were just carrying your own pain, and you still tried to help my daughter. You helped her when no one else could." He took a deep, shaky breath. "I do not want you to leave. I am not going to fire you. I want you to stay, not just as a cleaner." He glanced at Sophia, who was listening intently. "I want you to stay as a friend who understands, if you want to." Maria wiped her eyes with her free hand. She looked down at Sophie, then back at Liam. "I want to stay," she said quietly. "I care about Sophie, very much." A soft sigh, almost of relief, escaped Liam. He nodded. "Thank you." He then walked around his desk and knelt down on the floor, bringing himself to Sophie's level. She watched him carefully, but she did not let go of Maria's hand. "And I am sorry to you, Sophie. he said, his eyes glistening. I have been a sad and scared daddy. I tried to fix things that did not need fixing. I will try to be better. I will try to just be with you. Is that okay? Sophie looked at his face for a long time. Then she gave one slow, deliberate nod. Liam's heart felt like it might burst. He wanted to hug her, but he stayed where he was, respecting the space she needed. He stood up, a new thought occurring to him. It felt clear now, obvious. He walked to his desk and picked up his phone. He scrolled through his contacts, his finger hovering over a name he rarely called. Maria watched him, curious. Sophie leaned against her leg. Liam pressed the call button. The phone rang once, twice. A woman's voice answered, warm but cautious. Liam, is everything all right? Hi, Mom. The words felt strange in his mouth. He had not called her Mom in a long time. It's going to be all right. I need to ask you something. What is it, honey? Barbara's voice was full of immediate concern. Can you come here? Can you come stay with us for a little while? We need you. Sophie needs her grandmother, and I think I need my mom. There was a stunned silence on the other end of the line. Then Barbara's voice came back, thick with emotion. Of course I can come. I will be on the next flight. Thank you for asking, Liam. Thank you. Thank you, Mom, Liam said softly, and ended the call. He put the phone down. The office felt different. The air was clearer. He looked at Maria and Sophie, still standing together. My mother Barbara is coming to visit. She will be here soon. Maria offered a small, genuine smile. That is good. Family is good. Sophie looked up at Maria, then at her father. She did not speak, but she gave Maria's hand a little squeeze. It was enough. For the first time in 2 years, it felt like more than enough. The big house did not feel silent anymore. It felt quiet, but it was a different kind of quiet, a peaceful one. Barbara arrived 2 days later. She hugged Liam at the door for a long time, her eyes wet. Then she knelt to look at Sophie. Hello, my beautiful girl, she whispered. Sophie looked at her grandmother's kind face, then stepped forward and let herself be hugged. She didn't speak, but she leaned in. It was enough. Maria came to work 3 times a week now. She still cleaned, but she always saved time for Sophie. One afternoon, Liam walked into the kitchen. Maria was at the sink, washing a few cups. Sophie stood on a small stool beside her, her hands covered in soap suds. Maria was humming. Sophie was blowing on the suds, making them fly. Look, Daddy, Sophie said softly. She didn't look at him, focused on the bubbles. Liam stopped, his heart swelling. She spoke to him. Not a command, not a plea, just a simple sharing. I see them, Bug. They're very good bubbles. He did not rush over. He did not get out his phone to record it. He just watched, and then he went to get a towel for her wet hands. The garden was no longer a perfect museum. One day, Liam found Sophie and Barbara sitting by the pink rose bush. They were not just sitting. They were digging a small hole with a garden trowel. Barbara had brought a packet of sunflower seeds. Your mama loved sunflowers too, Barbara was saying. They grow so tall and happy. We'll plant them right here so the roses have friends. Sophie was patting the dirt with her small hands. Her knees were dirty. Liam did not think about the mess. He went inside and brought out 3 glasses of lemonade. One evening after dinner, Maria was getting ready to leave. Sophie was in the living room, trying to fit a piece into her puzzle. She was getting frustrated, her little brow furrowed. It does not want to go, she mumbled. Liam, who was reading nearby, started to stand up to help, but he stopped himself. He waited. Maria knelt down. Can I try? She asked. Sophie nodded. Maria gently turned the piece around. It slid into place. Sometimes we just need to look at it from another side, Maria said. Sophie looked at the completed piece, then up at Maria. Thank you, she said clearly. You are very welcome, Sophie. Later, Liam walked Maria to the front door. You have a real gift, he said quietly. Maria shook her head. It is not a gift. I just listen, and I remember what it is like to be sad. You helped us remember how not to be, Liam said. Or how to be sad together at least. It is better. Maria smiled. Yes, it is better. Liam closed the door after her. He walked back into the living room. Barbara was on the sofa, and Sophie had climbed up next to her, leaning against her side. A children's book was open on Barbara's lap. She was reading aloud in a soft, rhythmic voice. Sophie's eyes were drooping. Her teddy bear was tucked under one arm. The other hand held her grandmother's sleeve. Liam sat down in a chair across from them. He did not pick up his book or his phone. He just watched them. He listened to his mother's voice, to the soft hum of the house at night. He heard the quiet click of the heater turning on. He heard Sophie's gentle, sleepy sigh. The house was not a silent, sad museum anymore. It was filled with the sounds of life, sounds of a puzzle piece clicking into place, sounds of a grandmother's story, sounds of a little girl's voice finding its way out when it felt safe. It was not a perfect family. A piece of them was forever missing, and the hole she left would always be there. But around that hole, new things were growing. Not to replace what was lost, but to grow alongside it. The house was finally a home again.